Howdy, friends, and welcome to the Alt Country Show. I'm your host, Emily Smith, coming at you today with an interview with one of my current favorite bands, and I'm beyond excited to introduce you to them. While I chat with them, I mentioned that I hope this interview is something that people go back to 10 years from now, because they're such huge fans of this group, and they're scouring the internet for old content from their early days, which is totally something I do with my favorite groups. We've got a lot of exciting stuff coming up on today's episode and with the Alt Country Show in general. So the band I'm interviewing today, they're a bit of a smaller act. Next week, I'll have an interview with an artist that has over 1 million social media followers and is enjoying some huge success lately. I've also got some exciting news about Americana Fest going down this September in Nashville. I'll have some more info on that coming in the next couple weeks. Be sure to follow us on social media and check out our website. Then you'll be the first to know. But on today's episode, I'm chatting with Willie and the Cigs. They're a young group out of Cincinnati, Ohio. They are making waves in their local music scene, doing everything right, playing shows almost every weekend. They've self-released one album and have already opened for some big acts. We talk about all of this on the show today. I hope you enjoy the interview, and I hope you'll check out their album Loaded with Hits on Bandcamp and go support them by purchasing the record. How cool would that be if everyone that listens to this show bought their record this week? I've added their cassette to my collection, and I hope you all will too. If you're a fan of the Alt Country Show, you can help us out as well. Like and subscribe on Spotify or wherever you find your podcasts. Leave a review and a rating on Apple Podcasts. And check out our website at altcountryshow.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter, buy a shirt to help support the show. All of those things go a long way to making this show a success, and in turn helping incredible music from lesser known artists get out into the world. That's really what I want to do. I want to find quality music and give it to you guys. Help you sort through the hundreds of thousands of tracks that are uploaded to streaming daily. We'll jump into the interview with the Cigs, and I hope you'll stick around to the end. We got off topic a couple times, and I included some outtakes at the end where they ask me some questions. We talk about Bob Dylan and the Bob Dylan Center here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and more. So just some fun stuff at the end of the interview, and I hope you enjoy. So, here with Willie and the Cigs, I wanted to know if you guys could go around and maybe introduce yourselves and tell us what you do in the band.
I'm Will, and I play guitar, and I write some of the songs, and I sing.
I'm Megan, and I play bass.
I'm Patrick, and I play guitar, and I sing songs, and I also write some of the songs.
Hi, I'm Dana. I play keyboard and sometimes sing.
I am Elliot, and I play the drums.
Very cool. So I know you all are from Cincinnati, and you have a kind of interesting story for how you met. Can you start at the beginning and tell me like who met first and how that happened?
Oh, yeah. So me and Megan were in a band, and I was working at this restaurant called Habanero, and our other band broke up, and Patrick was working there. And then we started recording for fun. And then we thought it would be fun to start a real band. And then we did.
That's
kind of it. I remember reading something about how you guys met at School of Rock. Is that correct?
No, not me and Patrick. No.
That's you and Elliot.
Yeah, me and Elliot, the drummer.
We met at School of Rock.
Yeah, as kids.
So you were like in what grade when that happened?
Sophomore year of high school, maybe.
Okay, so have you all been playing music since you were kids like that?
Yeah, I've been playing drums since I was in middle school, and that's around when I met Will.
I'm such a huge fan of your sound. When I came across your album, I would say for me, it's my favorite music discovery that I've come across this year so far, which, I just think you guys have the coolest sound, and I'm so excited to see where you go with that. I saw that you've been playing a ton of shows. Can you tell me a little bit about the music scene in Cincinnati and some of the shows you've played and how that's been going?
Yeah. So we started playing out like basically 2 years ago now, right?
Yeah.
And we were really fortunate. Like we got this really fun outdoor gig to sort of debut the band, and a lot of people were there. So we kind of we got our name out really quick, and immediately we were finding some really cool gigs that a lot of bands, like, it takes them a while to get. Like we were quickly invited to like the mid-tier like venues and bars in town to play. And we kind of consider ourselves like the working man's band. Like other bands will take breaks from playing in order to like build anticipation for the next show. But we sort of earned a reputation in town. Some people didn't like us for it, for playing almost every weekend. Like other bands would play like one show a month, and it was always like a big deal. But we would play just about every weekend and bust our asses. But like we gathered a lot of ears and attention doing that. And now I think that we're like, I don't know, we're not top of the class. Maybe we are, but like the generation of bands that sort of emerged around our time, we're definitely like contenders, and we like to like participate in the scene here.
I think that's super cool, especially with like the way things are now and everything's online, and the fact that you're getting out there and doing it every weekend or as much as you can. I think that's really special and cool. And I think I hear it in your album. It has like a very like, live performance vibe. Like I know that I could go see you live and it's going to be a good time, Or do you guys have any plans to tour, or are you just hanging out kind of around your area?
We have done like some weekend runs. We want to do like a full tour, but right now I think our big thing is weekend runs. We'll go out of town for the weekend, come back, work for the week, get some cash, and then go back out on the road for the weekend. So we just got back we played Lansing, Michigan at Stoop Fest. We played at Milwaukee at Cactus Club, which was awesome. A couple of places in Indiana. St. Louis, we played in St. Louis. That was great. So hopefully we can make it out like either east or more west. Hopefully sometime soon.
Your latest album that dropped last year is called Loaded with Hits. Can you tell me a little bit about how that album came together, the recording process?
So most of those songs are songs that me and Patrick wrote before we had a band, and we were just kind of recording at home for fun. And then after we had been a band for about 3 months, the people who were all in the band at that time, we went to the studio, and it's like kind of a live record, and it's kind of not. Like a lot of it, like every song is like tracked with like the live band, but then we added vocals and more guitars and stuff like after. So the idea was to try to get it to sound like how we sound live if we played a really good night, you know what I mean? And we did it at the Monastery, and a friend of ours named Clark Miller like recorded it for us. And then Isaac Carnes at the Marble Garden Studios, he mixed it for us or mastered it for us. And then we had our album release show for it, like I think a year after we recorded it.
So my favorite song, which is kind of like the hit on it, is Freaking Out the Cow.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of tells a story itself, but can you tell me the story behind that song and like how it came to be?
Yeah, that one has one of the good stories. That's my favorite song too. But I think I was trying to think of funny songs. Like Bob Dylan on like the Basement Tapes has songs where the whole idea is sort of funny. And I was trying to think of a punchline, and I came up with that phrase, "freaking out the cow," and I thought it was really funny. So I wrote out like 2 stanzas, like 2 verses, to see if Patrick would also think it's funny. And then he came over and I read them to him, and I think he thought they were funny. So then I finished the song, and then we recorded it. But the whole comp is pretty like we like Lennon McCartney'd it, like it has this like what would you call that? Like a samba rhythm, and
Bossa Nova kind of rhythm.
Yeah, bossa nova. But then all the licks in it are kind of like country,
Right.
But that song, the lyrics were just trying to be funny, but I think I'm looking back on them, it seems like there's a nice little palette there, you know.
It
Right.
reminds me a lot of the Clothesline Saga from the Basement Tapes.
Yes.
That Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
Very cool. You guys have a lot of really cool influences. Jerry Lee Lewis, Little Richard, the Velvet Underground you mentioned are people that have inspired you and kind of inspire your sound. And I hear that in your music, but it also kind of has a modern vibe to it. It's like a modern spin on that type of music. And I'm just interested in like your musical backgrounds and how you developed this sound, because I think it's super unique. Like there's elements that are familiar, but I don't really know of a band right now that sounds like you guys.
I think because there's so many of us and we've all been in bands before, we've all made our own music and it's all been different. And when we come together, we do have the same like influences, like the Velvet Underground, I think goes across the board for all of us. So that's like a baseline, but then everybody else likes something different and listens to other things that maybe the rest of the band doesn't listen to. And so when we come together to create these sounds, I think we take those influences individually, and when we put it together, I think that's why it's so unique.
I love it.
I want to add, I think all of our favorite bands, you could say that about all our favorite bands too, is that they don't sound like anybody else.
Mhm.
You know, like all the best bands never sound like another band. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's why, like, when I heard your album, I was like, oh my God. Like, it's just, I listen to a ton of music. I get so many submissions for the show, and it's all good. There's lots of really good music out there, but it's so cool when you hear something that's just totally different and exciting. And like, I just want like the whole world to hear you guys. I'm like, oh my God, this band's so good. I've told so many people about your band, and yeah, I want you to like tour the whole world so we can all see you.
Me too.
Are there any other tracks on the album that like, what are y'all's favorite tracks? I really like Freaking Out the Cow. Does anybody else have favorites? And
so I wasn't involved in the recording of the first album, but I was somewhat of a fan and I was familiar with the band and went to see them live a few times before I was involved. And when that album came out, I listened through it and I remember listening to the song Drunk and I was like, what's up with this song? Like, I've never heard them play it live. And I've also talked to other people, like friends of mine who have seen the Cigs, and they're like, yes, I love listening to that song on the record. And what I like about it specifically is it sounds like when we're at the studio or something, just like drinking some beers or smoking cigarettes and just like playing something. That's just like what it sounds like in our studio. And all of our other songs are much more worked on. Like there's a lot more time spent in getting them to sound a certain way that reflects our goal for them. But Drunk is just kind of like, it is what it is. And it reflects who we are, I think.
very cool. I know you're signed to a record label. Can you tell me about that label and how you got involved with them?
Yeah, I can tell you about that.
Okay.
So when we went to do the record, no one else would put it out, you know, because it had only been like 3 months, and there was lots of like flirting, you know.
Yeah.
And then, and sorry, and then we decided that we would just start our own.
Okay.
And and then we could come up with the name we wanted, you know, like I don't think I wanted anyone else's name on the record, you know, like at all. So we did a tapped in, yeah, and that's because at work, me and Patrick, I will say something and turn to him and go like, I'm fucking tapped in, man. You know, like I get it. You know, like you listen to like a really obscure like Rolling Stones B-side and you're like, I get that. You know, like that's me right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's where the name comes from.
That's a cool story. So you put out your own record and you're helping other artists as well?
No.
No, just
No.
you guys.
And
That's cool. I mean, that's
if it was
nothing
free,
wrong with
I
that.
wouldn't have minded it. But you to put the stuff up, you have to pay for it and then
right.
put it out, you know. And then So then it's like, well, now why not start a label? You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
also
A
like,
label that only does digital distribution through DistroKid.
yeah, yeah.
Right. Well, that's how a lot of the small labels are doing it these days anyway. I think that's so cool. And I'm a big fan, like I keep saying, and I want everybody to hear you guys. And I know you just pretty much just put out this album, but are you working on new music now? Are you planning to go in the studio and record again?
Absolutely, yes. Like you caught us right in the middle of, I feel like we're in the third act of that arc. Like we've been writing songs and playing them live for the past year and a half or so, testing out new tunes and playing around with new influences. And we're finally at a point where we have like a list of like 12 or so songs that are good contenders that now we're like putting through some scrutiny. We're polishing them up, and we have plans made with our friend John Hoffman here in Cincinnati, who's recorded a lot of artists. He's in this band called Vacation, and he has a recording space at this old Masonic temple, and they call it the Lodge, or it may be like an elk lodge or something like that, some old meeting house. The plan is in August to go there and track things. So we're kind of like, we're doing things like everything we do. There are last minute adjustments, I guess. And we're making sure that we like everything that we're doing. And what's funny is like on Loaded with Hits, the song Drunk and the song Dead Cowboys were both written less than 2 weeks before the recording date. The other songs on that album were written almost a year before the recording date. So it's funny, like there are some ideas that we prefer to sit on for a long time, and then some ideas, like we're willing to entertain the really brand new ideas sometimes. And sometimes that looseness we can play it to our advantage, I think.
Cool. Are you playing any of your new tracks out live and getting any feedback on them?
Yeah. We get there are certainly some that we know we're happy with, and there are some that like we realize, like, oh, maybe this could be louder, this could be faster. Who knows? Playing live is like a really nice way it's like a litmus test for a song. Yeah. But some of these songs we've been playing for the past year or so, long since the release of Loaded with Hits, and people are begging for a recording. So it's about time we did them justice and got a proper recording for those. But we also have new ideas that are still half baked that we really want to try to tie up and put into an album this year.
Anything additionally, like any fun stories you'd like to tell from the road? I saw you played with Gringo Starr, who I'm a big fan of. I thought that was pretty cool.
That one was cool. We got to open up for the Lemon Twigs. Which was insane. They were kind of a big thing when I was in high school. Like I remember I got into it. I think a drunk driver hit me and Megan once while we listened to Lemon Twigs on the way home from like a White Reaper show in Columbus.
Yeah, and I didn't listen to Lemon Twigs until recently.
Yeah.
Just because it made me so mad.
They were like sound checking, and I was like trying not to like freak out. Like, oh, this is so cool. Like it was pretty awesome.
But it is so cool. That is so cool. Yeah, especially for such a new band to open for such big names. That's so cool. And is that just through your like connections in the Cincinnati scene, or how did those opening spots come about?
We shamelessly reach out for gigs. When we know that someone's coming through town, we find a way to talk to the venue, and I think we've gathered like a good enough reputation in Cincinnati that sometimes when we ask for something, like someone is like, yeah, wait, oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, I'll put you on the show. It's happened a few times that way.
People told me, they said, how'd you get that? And I was like, we just asked.
Yeah.
And you just asked.
But it was funny. They said no, or we kept checking in and they wouldn't say yes or no. They kept like putting us on hold. And then I think like 2 days before they gave it to us, or maybe like 4 days before or something. So then we had to drop everything and get ready. And that was our first weekend we went out of town. So it was like play the biggest show of our career and then go like 8 hours away the
Go to
next
St.
day.
Louis.
You know.
That's so cool. I love that you guys are getting at it like that. Like, I'm much older than you. I'm 40, I'll be 41 this year. And I just didn't have that confidence to hear no when I was younger. I didn't realize that, like, who gives a shit if someone says no to you? Like, just ask, like, just put yourselves out there, you know? And I have more of that mentality now, but I had too much anxiety when I was younger. And I just think that's so cool. Like, just keep doing that. Like,
I still
let
get
people say no.
That's great advice.
I still get
Yeah.
mad.
Yeah.
If people
Yeah.
say no to our show, I get mad.
But you don't-
That's okay to get mad
Yeah.
and be disappointed, but really, what does it matter? Like, just try, you know?
And I
Like,
think it's awesome that there's so many of us. So if one person's like, I don't know if I want to, I'm too nervous, the other person will do it.
yeah,
Like something's going to get done regardless. Except for doing this interview on time.
Oh yeah, I was in charge of the emails.
that's okay. I'm a space case lately. I have so many things going on that I've just had trouble. Like, I'm supposed to be doing an interview a month. I mean, I'm reporting to me. I'm my boss for this or whatever. I built this myself, but I just, like, I've had so much going on. So I'm glad we finally got it done and that it's going to get to air and hopefully introduce more people to your music. You were talking about how there's so many of you. Like, how does that work? Like, is it hard to coordinate schedules? Like, I'm guessing you all work on top of this and have things going on. You said you work in construction. Do people take different parts of the jobs? Like, is one person reaching out and scheduling shows? Is one person doing social media? Do you divide it up, or is it just kind of a free for all?
I would say me, Will, and Pat do most of the like, I guess like the
Behind the scenes.
administrative stuff. I think I mostly run the Instagram, and then Will and Pat kind of are like set up shows kind of guys. But like we'll all get together and go through our messages and our emails together as a whole band. And then and Patrick and Dana do the artwork as well. So we all have like our own special roles that we do. We do have a merch person, which is awesome. They just wanted the experience, and we love them. They come on tour with us too. So we have like, it's us, and then it's great that we had somebody else who wants to help us too. We love Ruby. And yeah, Dana and Pat do the artwork, and we have like a strict schedule too. We have 2 practices a week, Wednesdays and Thursdays, and it's like mandatory. Like, you have a headache, you're not coming, too bad. We have to practice. And I think that's why, like, I don't know, I think that's kind of why we slingshot into the spot we are, because we have this like take no shit attitude, and like it's mandatory that we practice because we have like a show that weekend, because we were playing shows every weekend.
We get a lot of people asking us, like, you really practice twice a week? And we've been doing it for so long, and there's honestly rarely situations where we can't do twice a week. I think all of us are devoted enough and see the vision enough, and we're all friends as well, which makes it easier. It's fun, yeah. So it's easy to make it happen twice a week. And, you know, usually it's 3 days a week devoted to the band, 2 practices and the show. But we all understand that that's what will make us the most prepared going into shows, and the most prepared to like start recording music together.
I love that. That's, you know, such a huge piece of it, because a lot of bands don't give it that much attention and dedication. And even if they're good, you know, it kind of falls apart. So you guys are doing everything right. And I'm really excited to watch and see where this goes, because I expect big things. I want people to go back and listen to this and be like, oh my God, she found them.
I watch interviews like that all the time. Like
Giving
really old like White Reaper interviews where they're like goofing off the whole time.
I love that. So that's going to be this. My final thing is, do you guys have any, like, do you guys have any drama within the band? Do you guys have any funny stories? Like, what? I want the gossip. Give me the gossip
Yeah,
on each other.
We're just like Fleetwood Mac. I'm
That-
Oh. What?
Dana's the funniest person in the band, other than myself.
Well, okay, so
Um,
me and Meg work together as well. So, you know, four of us work together in different ways. So we're all pretty close friends.
mhm.
So
So of course, Dana and I will talk at work, and then Pat and Will talk at work, and then we'll come to practice, and there'll be some like, oh, so I heard you said this thing. It's kind of just like it reminds me of having brothers and sisters. That sounds so stupid, but that's how we bicker. No fist fights yet. Yeah, I don't think so.
Has anybody got like mad and stumped off or left a practice?
Oh,
only under dire circumstances. does that happen.
Hey, that's normal when you're around people that much. I just, you just got to work through it like a family.
this
We
might,
are one big family.
yeah,
guys.
yeah.
No matter our differences and no matter what conflicts we've been through, we always make it out fine.
Yeah.
I
At the
love
end of the day, I'm the best mediator in the blue. So
Yeah.
That is so
That
true.
is true. That is
Elliot
true.
is our mediator.
no, but that's worries.
But an interesting piece of background information is Will and I both work together as carpenters, like every day, and we just listen to classic country music all
Oh,
day.
yeah.
Yeah. Like we'll be like framing up like a closet or like putting siding on a house, listening to like Gene Autry or like Hank Williams or just anything of that variety. Like every day. It's getting ingrained into our heads. And I feel like it's subconsciously like impacting the way we make music. And I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I just love the mix of your sound. I just think it's so unique. I didn't grow up listening to country music. I hated country music. I listened to punk music, and my family listened to country, and I would literally like cover my ears and go la 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 and be like a huge asshole when I was a kid because I refused to listen to it. But then, I got older and I started listening to some of these songs and the storytelling and all that. I've become a huge fan of all sorts of country influenced music, which is, I hear a little of that influence in your music for sure.
Do you have a favorite contemporary country artist?
Favorite contemporary
Other than us,
country
of course.
artist, other than you guys? I have a few. I really like Dougie Poole.
Oh, Dougie Poole's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I had the same kind of feeling when I came across his music that I did with yours, where I was just like, this is so cool.
Yeah, he's
Like,
really unique.
yeah. His first album, or maybe it was his second album, Freelancers Blues.
Uh-huh.
That it's so good. Los Angeles is probably one of my favorite songs of the past decade or so. Like, I just really love that song. I really dig you guys. They're not around anymore, but Silver Jews and Purple Mountains. David Berman's probably my very favorite artist of all time. Yeah. So
I
I
remember
remember one time I played Will a Silver Jews song, and a few days later he was like, "What was the name of that song again? I loved it so much." And I was like, I would never expected him to love Silver Jews so much, but it made me so happy that he did.
it took me a long time to like digest it all, and he was like one of the greatest songwriters that ever lived. It's just crazy. Like, I have some of his poetry books and I read them like they're all worn in because I just think he's so amazing with words. Yeah, and that Purple Mountains album he put out right before he passed away was like, I don't even know, just so poetic in the sense, the words in it, and then the way things ended. It was so tragic and just, but beautiful, just kind of crazy. But yeah, big fan.
We could set up some sort of tour that maybe Tulsa is the the farthest stopping point.
Okay. I would love that.
We should go to Tulsa.
You know, if
We
Come to
should
Tulsa.
play
so
Tulsa.
like the end of the road, and then we work our way back home.
Be great. I want to go to that. I want to go to that center so bad. I look at the website like every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
God, they have this exhibit. They have this exhibit where there's like 8 channels and you can like mix the Dylan songs like however you want. It looks so cool.
That's really cool.
And I love your story about liking punk and then getting into country. Like that's like great. Remember you and I used to talk about like Fiddler like all the time, you know. And when's the last time you like listened to Fiddler?
You listen to Fiddler all the time.
I recently got back
When's
into
the last
it.
time?
Yeah.
Yesterday. Yeah, no, and that's definitely kind of like, I feel like if I may say, like, for this band, like it's definitely kind of an intersection. Like country has definitely been like definitely a strong influence for us, but I think like punk, especially like early punk, is where like, you know, it kind of coincides.
I think that a lot of country music now is very punk. I mean, not the stuff that's being played on the radio, but like I call it the alt country scene. I named this show in 2006 when I started this podcast, so I wasn't very creative. And I just picked that title because I don't know. And I'm stuck with it. But the stuff that branches off of that, any of the country music that's being made that's not the mainstream pop country or like super conservative, like bro country, I think it all is kind of punk rock, or it's going in that way, you know. It's such a cool scene.
Country's the original punk, right? Like some bunch of even punk is, you know, like corporate punk, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
You know,
I think the term punk is just like an attitude, and I think anything could be punk. So there's a lot of like country that you could consider punk just for like the feeling and the attitude itself, not so much of how it sounds.
Right.
Well, I hope you enjoyed getting to know Willie and the Cigs as much as I did. They're super dedicated, super knowledgeable about music, and they're creating a sound that's all their own, which is something I can't get enough of. Like I said, go buy their album, loaded with hits on Bandcamp, support this group, throw some dollars their way so we can support their new album, which we'll be looking out for. Thanks for coming and tuning into the Alt Country Show. I'm Emily Smith. I'll be back next Friday with a brand new interview, and I'll have a new music mix coming up in the next couple weeks as well. You can always check out past episodes in the archives on Spotify. Like and subscribe. Hit us up at altcountryshow.com. Get yourself a t-shirt. That helps support this show, and in turn, all the bands. And come find us on social media. Just look for the Alt Country Show. I'm Emily. I'll see you back here next time.